Good morning, everybody. Thank you very much for joining me today. I'd like to begin by noting that today is the National Day of Remembrance for Victims of Terrorism. And this date was proclaimed in 2005 to commemorate the 329 lives that were lost tragically in the bombing of Air India Flight 182. In 1985, that was the largest mass murder and terrorist act in Canadian history. And to honor the victims, their families, to honor our commitment to fighting against terrorism, the flags of the Manitoba Legislative Building will be flying at half-mast today. And I urge all Manitobans to consider a moment of quiet reflection. I have a couple of things to share with you today that are all I think important aspects of what we are doing here in this province to restart Manitoba's economy. Manitoba is safely restoring our services. We are carefully rebuilding our economy. And our government's been focused right from the get-go on creating a safe health environment so that Manitoba's small businesses can help to restart that economy and help give people their lives back. We've developed some of the most generous support programs in the country to help Manitobans navigate and rebound from this unprecedented time. Thus far, more than 72,000 Manitoba frontline workers have applied for our risk recognition program. That's that one-time payment that will be made once we close off those applications next week to celebrate the work of our frontline people. In addition, more than 6,200 small businesses and growing every day are receiving the $6,000 Manitoba GAP program funding. That represents so far over $37 million in support for small businesses as they carefully reopen and expand their services. We've had hundreds of applications just the last few days. And I'm encouraged by that as I see more and more, with Phase 3 starting yesterday, more and more Manitoba businesses that are either reopening or are expanding and are hiring more people on. And with that, I want to say a thank you. More than 1,600 employers have applied for our wage subsidy program through the Summer Student Recovery Plan, and they've created over 3,500 student positions so far, and that number is going up with every passing day. And I really encourage our employers to take a look at hiring students for those positions that are temporary, that they may need additional support with over the summer. In addition, last week we announced our Manitoba Back to Work This Summer initiative, which was designed to provide a wage subsidy for Manitoba businesses to receive funding for up to 5 employees. Now that unlike the summer student program, had no age restrictions at all. So employers would be able to bring back workers who were of any age, even at my advanced age. And they could bring back workers and receive 50% of the wages up to a maximum $25,000 for 5 workers. This program is already getting a lot of interest, but I wanted to add today that we've made the decision to allow those companies that brought back workers after Phase 2 was announced, that's June 1st, to also apply for the wage subsidy program to those workers who they brought back in the last 3.5, 4 weeks. Retroactive to June 1st, again, I say that Manitoba small businesses will be able to claim the 50% wage subsidy for workers. So small businesses, again, that have hired or have rehired employees as part of our Phase 2 initiative can retroactively apply for assistance. And obviously going forward, we look forward to seeing, as we have been seeing in the last few days, more interest in that program as well. I encourage any Manitobans that may be interested in these programs to visit the Supports for Business section of our Manitoba government website to learn more about the programs we've made available. And I would emphasize again to all Manitobans that we are not interested as a government in throwing money at problems. We are interested in investing in solutions. And that's precisely why our programs have been designed the way they have been, to encourage us to rebound, knowing that there is a V knowing that we declined in our ability to use our freedoms, to support one another, to operate our businesses, to shop the way we used to and interface with each other the way we used to be entertained the way we used to, over the last 4 months meant that that V on our graph of quality of life and of income has dropped for so many Manitobans. Motivates me and motivates our government to see that shape of that graph be a V, not an L. We want that recovery to be sharp and upward. And so, as a focus of investing in solutions, we are focused here in Manitoba on helping people get their lives back. And part of getting your life back when you're of a working age is to get a job and to work at that job. And obviously, this is what many Manitobans have struggled with over the last few months as the economy has been hamstrung by the necessity of protecting each other from the COVID pandemic. So that's the nature of my additional announcement today. Through the Canada Emergency Response Benefit and that federal government program you're familiar with that was introduced out of necessity during the early days of the COVID-19 pandemic, that program is subsidizing the wages of more than 8 million Canadians right now. Now these programs, this program specifically, have been there to help Canadians through the financial challenges that have been caused by the COVID pandemic. However, on our calls with the premiers and with the Prime Minister, it's become increasingly evident that the CERB program that we refer to, the Canada Emergency Response Benefit, has some disincentives as well. And it's actually preventing some Canadians from returning to work on a more full-time basis. I'll just quote to you from a Globe and Mail article from the weekend. It said, quote, "And while a person collecting CERB is allowed to work, they lose CERB if they earn more than $1,000 a month. So someone working part-time at minimum wage who accepts a move to full-time could actually end up with less money in their pocket." To some, the CERB programs become a barrier, preventing them from safely returning to work on a more full-time basis. And this is making it more difficult here in Manitoba, as we are among the true leaders in restarting our economy. This is hurting some of our employers and employees from resuming the relationship of work that gave people their opportunity to support themselves and to be self-reliant in the workplace. And that is hurting our economy. C'est un problème qui demande une solution. It is a problem that demands a solution, and our government is responding. Today, we are introducing the Manitoba Job Restart Program. It will provide direct payments of up to $2,000 to qualified Manitobans to help them safely return to work. In order to be eligible, participants have to stop collecting the CERB. Instead, they will collect the Manitoba Restart Benefit. Tens of thousands of Manitobans could benefit from this program. It will be fully financed by our Manitoba government. It does not require any contributions from employers at all. Under the current federal CERB program, individuals can earn no more than $1,000 from their jobs before the CERB is kicked to the curb and they lose it. Under the Manitoba program, workers will be able to receive the $2,000 bonus regardless of how much they earn working. And I would encourage all Manitobans to embrace the jobs that are available and coming available in our province now. We are seeing a growing number of opportunities as Manitoba's small businesses reopen and expand. And as they do that, they are hiring people. Don't wait. Don't let the CERB program provide a disincentive for you to look for work opportunities now, because you may find that those work opportunities will be taken by others. We want to encourage all Manitobans who are of working age and working capability to look for work. The federal government is introducing on July 4th a requirement that anyone who wishes to continue on the CERB program has to attest that they have been actively looking for work. This is similar to what requirements exist under the employment insurance program, and they're not unknown to people. Up till now, those requirements were not there, but they will be there. What this program will do provincially is allow Manitobans to get back to work without suffering the financial penalty that the CERB program threatens them with if they work too much. In other words, we'd like you to get back to work. Thanks to the hard work of our healthcare professionals, thanks to the hard work of your government, Manitoba has become one of the safest places in the world from COVID, one of the safest places to be at work, one of the safest places to go shopping, and one of the safest places to get your life back to. And the Manitoba Job Restart Program is going to help you do just that. Thank you. Be happy to take your questions.
Thank you, Mr. Premier. It's now time for questions from the media. Each reporter is allowed a question and a follow-up. Reporters, please introduce yourself before you ask your question. And first up, from the Winnipeg Sun, Scott.
Scott Bill, Winnipeg Sun. Question obviously for Premier. There's been a big push by your government to get people back to work and off CERB. I mean, this latest thing is just another in line of what. Why has it been so important for you to have people come off CERB, I suppose, and get back into the workplace?
Well, we've got a lot of skilled workers out there, Scott, and as the economy reopens, and it is reopening, there'll be opportunities for them to use those skills to support themselves. But the way the CERB program is structured, if somebody goes back to work just a little bit over half time at minimum wage in Manitoba, with the dollar over $1,000, if they make $1,001, they lose $2,000 of CERB. So this $2,000 that Manitoba is offering up is there to help cushion that blow and help people, encourage people to get back to work if they have the opportunity. And of course, if they don't, if they try hard and they can't find a job, then the CERB program's there for them. But we want to have a program available to help people get off CERB if we can, because as we recover, and we're leading the country in many respects in recovering, there's going to be a great opportunity for people to do the things they want to do with their lives, and hopefully, for most Manitobans, one of the things they want to do with their lives if they're of working age is get back to work.
Thanks. And for my follow-up, I'm just wondering why yesterday there was a very soft announcement on when it comes to schools reopening in the fall. It was such a big deal when schools closed down, press conferences, press release. Why was that left to the Education Minister's Twitter and Facebook account instead of maybe a more broad announcement regarding schools, given how important that is to a lot of Manitobans?
Well, I think to be fair, it's always newsworthy when you close a school. I don't know if the reopening of schools in September is as newsworthy. I think most provinces have announced previously that they're doing the same thing. That being said, there's a tentative announcement, and you'll note that in the tweets from the Education Minister, who's done a tremendous job, by the way, of leading our educational interests in these last number of weeks. It's a very stressful time for all. So I just wanted to say I'm very encouraged by the possibility, but I would emphasize that we're still going to be monitoring our COVID percentage test positive numbers and various other numbers around our province before we'll take this reopening to the bank. Manitobans will determine whether we're able to reopen the economy, reopen schools, and so on. And that will be under review as we move into the summer months.
From CBC Radio Canada, Amelie.
I'm sorry, Emily, you were clicking out on me there throughout the question and preamble, so I have no idea what you wanted me to say. We can give it another try and see if you can come through more clearly, if you like.
Yes. Have you been talking with the federal government about their program at the moment? And how did you come up with this idea for this specific program, for this new program that you're announcing today? I hope it's clear.
Yeah, non, c'est clair. Non, chaque semaine, j'ai eu une conversation avec le Premier ministre et aussi le Premier de autres provinces La préoccupation pour le programme collectif, c'est pour les résultats. Le programme effectif, efficace, doit être la qualité d'inspirer le travailleur pour retourner la location pour le travail. Et le problème avec ce programme est la contravention de cette principale, la difficulté pour les employés et la pénalité financière, c'est grande. Après $1,000 à chaque mois. L'encouragement pour encourager le travailleur pour retourner au travail, c'est nécessaire pour une compensation, un programme de compensation pour offrir l'incentive. C'était l'objectif de cet annoncement.
Thank you. And just as a follow-up, I just wanted to make sure I understood correctly. So the other program that you announced last week, the Back to Work summer program, is now retroactive from June 1st for employers.
Yeah, I think this is the fair thing to do. We had some discussion about this. We've had discussion and input from many, many business groups. The question came up, well, what about it's fine, you have this program going forward, we appreciate it, but for many of our businesses, they've actually hired back 5 people already, and they can't apply for the program. They hired them back when phase 2 was announced. And so for this reason, we're making the program retroactive because we also know that many employers have additional costs because of COVID. And so what this will do, for example, an employer who has hired back 5 people in the middle of June is now eligible for up to $25,000 in provincial support for wage offset. Now that frees up $25,000, obviously, that can be put to other uses. Could be some PPE, could be some shields, could be some modifications, could be some training dollars. Lots of opportunity there in small business. I know, I come from the world of small business. Lots of opportunities for additional expense, and those expenses, business people will take them on, but we want to offer them the incentive of getting that $25,000. And if they're also a GAP recipient because they didn't qualify or didn't apply for the federal wage subsidy program, they get an additional $6,000 from us as well. So you're at $31,000 there of capital that I'm sure many of our small businesses will find very, very helpful to them in getting back restarted.
From CBC Manitoba, Riley.
Hi, Riley Leicester from CBC. So we talked to some small businesses who say, you know, these wage subsidies, these incentives, these are all fine, these are great, but they don't have the shift, they don't have the work to hire these people back. What is your response to that?
Well, my response would be that the government's principal obligation is the one we're fulfilling, I think, pretty well. And thanks to Manitobans' cooperation, we have one of the safest provinces in which to open a business. We have one of the safest provinces in which to have workplaces that protect the workers. We have one of the safest provinces in the country and one of the safest jurisdictions in the world for shoppers to go and enjoy the services of small businesses, whether it's purchasing goods, services, enjoying a nice meal or a beverage. So as a government, we've done that job and we're going to keep doing that job, safety first, but fingers crossed, thanks to Manitobans' cooperation, we can say that we've got fewer COVID cases than almost anyone in the world. That's what small businesses want. They want the chance to offer their services to people safely. And that's exactly why we're offering these programs to them, because as they offer these services safely, they will need help to do that. They will need employees. That's why we have this program we're announcing today. That's why we have the wage subsidy program, to help people get back to work and offer the services that Manitobans deserve to have and want to have.
And I guess as my follow-up, so you kind of touched on it earlier, but some businesses are calling for subsidies for things like PPE and whatnot. Is there anything like available to help them in that regard?
These programs that we've announced, I will emphasize again, if you're in business, you need people. If you hire people, and you've hired them since June 1st, of any age at all, students, people my age, you have the application opportunity to collect 50% of your wage up to a $25,000 amount. Now, that 50% reduction in hiring staff creates cash flows that wouldn't be there otherwise. So this program is designed to be fair. Frankly, it is targeted at our smaller businesses, and we know that we can't offer everything to everyone. There's been too much damage done to many businesses as a consequence of COVID, and we're not anything but recognizing that that's true. But we're trying to offer programs that incent people to hire and incent people to get back to work. When you get 5 people at half price, that frees up capital. That capital can go where you want it to go. So this is the nature of the programs we've designed, which, by the way, are more extensive and more generous than are offered in any other province in Canada.
Canadian Press, Steve.
Steve Lambert from the Canadian Press. Premier, these types of programs always have requirements and limitations of some sort, so that it's not just open for everybody. Just reading through the press release we've been handed virtually, do people have to be collecting CERB or CESB and then get off it to qualify for this money you're announcing today?
Yes.
Okay. Second question. The Education Minister's announcement yesterday that Scott talked about earlier, the Education Minister in his social media post talked about recovery learning and doing that within the school year. So will you be reducing in-service days, professional development days for teachers so that you can add that classroom time within the school year?
Well, that's the intention, I think, Steve, but I'll let the Education Minister answer in more detail. It's his portfolio. He's done a great job of handling it. I wasn't trying to be cute with that first answer. I think it's important to understand over 8 million Canadians are on the CERB program, and for many, we've heard from many employers and employees that it's time to kick the CERB to the curb. And this program is designed, our program is designed so that people don't suffer financially when they go back to work. And I think that's a good common sense way to make sure we're not punishing people for trying to work more than half time. Lots of Manitobans know. I've got a friend who supports her 2 kids. She's divorced, in her 30s. She can't feed her kids on less than half-time work. And yet, if she goes back and works over $1,000 in a month, she loses the CERB program. So for her, this is the kind of program that'll give her $2,000. It'll be spread over a 6-week period over 4 pays, and it'll give her the incentive to get back and be able to get more work, more hours, without having to be punished for doing it by losing the CERB program. That's a problem that I've raised with the Prime Minister on several calls. Other premiers have too, and it's a cliff. It creates a cliff where once a person gets over $1,000, they lose $2,000. Well, that's not helping people go and look for more shifts. It's hurting employers too. And this is an important point, I think, Steve. If you're an employer and you're trying to get your folks back, you've heard, many employers have told us this, well, I'd like to come back, but I don't want to come back too much. I don't want to work too many hours, or I don't want to come back at all because then I'll disqualify myself on the CERB program. Well, that's pretty hard to run a small business without people. So this program will make employers more likely able to attract people to come back and work because they can tell them, look, you don't have to worry about losing the $2,000. The provincial government's going to give you that money anyway.
CTV Winnipeg, Jeff.
Well, hi, Mr. Premier. Jeff Keel, CTV Winnipeg. Mr. Premier, do you have any statistics on how many people in Manitoba may not be coming back to work who are on CERB? Because we keep hearing anecdotally, oh, this is a problem. But then when we actually go talk to businesses and even some organizations, they're like, well, actually, most of my staff is back, those who can. We actually have statistics to back up why this program is needed.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we have some statistics. They're outdated, though, I'd say about 2 or 3 weeks old from the Parliamentary Budget Office, saying that there are as many as 6.5% of workers who have expressed an unwillingness to resume work. But that doesn't take into account many others who would not work as many shifts or would be reluctant to go back to work to the point where they get over $1,000. So those are preliminary stats from the Parliamentary Budget Office, Jeff, but we have as well common sense on our side, knowing here that in Manitoba, we're coming back up on the restart a lot better than many. And so whereas in other provinces, there may not be the demand right now for workers, and of course then the CERB program will help. In our province, there is a growing demand for workers, and I believe you'll see that in the Stats Canada employment numbers in about 2 weeks' time, that our unemployment rate is dropping rather significantly. These programs are designed to help employers and employees make sure that that's the case and give people the opportunity to get back working, which is what most working people want to do, rather than budgeting their time so they don't work too much so they can get a support program from the federal government.
Thank you for that answer. I guess address this, because there's going to be people out there who say, wait a second, I'm not on CERB, I've been working, and the government's not giving me money. There's going to be people who are going to say that when they hear this announcement today, so what do you say to them?
Yeah, no, fair point. What I'd say to those workers, good for you. Thank you for going back to work. And I'd say thank you to the employers for hiring people back to work. And I would say this, we're committed to keeping your job as profitable as we can by reducing taxes. I'll have more to say on that later this week. We have already reduced the PST. We are reducing red tape so that people can find profitable work and make small businesses more successful. We've got a rebate program now that has put, frankly, tens of millions back into the hands of people who buy AutoPack. We've also got a Workers' Compensation Board rebate that's gone out that's going to put millions of dollars back in the hands of small businesses. And we're making sure that we've got a safe environment for people to work in so that you can keep working and not have to go back home from your workplace afraid that you either got COVID, gave it to someone else, or that your company you work for is going to be shut down for an undetermined period of time. I'd say to all those workers, we're doing our very, very best to make sure that you have a place to work, that you get good pay when you work, and that you have security in the place you work.
From City TV, Jonas.
Good morning, Mr. Premier. It's Jonas Gilbert with City News. Just going through the details here, and just for someone on the couch maybe watching this, what's the first thing you would suggest for them to do to take part in this program?
Well, first thing to do is get off the couch. First thing to do would be to go and, surf our website, because there's lots of employers that have registered, and you can get data on that, and you can go and you can look for work. There's a great opportunity out there in Manitoba. As Phase 3 just started yesterday, businesses are starting to take advantage of it, and there are more opportunities for work out there with every passing day. So I'd encourage Manitobans to seize this opportunity, and then once they've registered for work and have been hired, they can then register that they are off the CERB, and then they will get $2,000 from the government of Manitoba in appreciation for them getting back to work, and we thank them for doing that.
And just I saw the first $500 payment is going to come after they get the job. Was there any discussion on maybe making that available once someone proves they quit the CERB, maybe give them a jump start?
Well, I don't expect people to quit the CERB before they got a job, because they'll need that cash flow. And July 4th, the renewal date, they'll have to attest that they're looking for work, hence the earlier advice about getting off the couch. Although if you want to surf the internet from the comfort of your couch, I would suggest stay on the couch. Either way, the idea is to get people to go looking for work. In Manitoba, we have the benefit of being ahead of most other jurisdictions on reopening our economy. There's going to be more opportunities for people with every passing day. And we need people to work, and we don't need to punish them when they go back to work. So that's what this program is about. It's about incenting the right behavior. It's about rewarding people for going back to work, not punishing them when they do.
Winnipeg Free Press, Larry.
Winnipeg Free Press. Premier, with the economy opening up and Manitobans now being allowed to gather in larger groups, why do you still hold conference calls with the media, which limits the number of questions that can be asked? And when are you going to return to normal press conferences where journalists are better able to question you about your government's policies and its record?
I miss you, Larry. I want to see you. I long to see you. I hope to see you soon. I've raised this with Dr. Roussin. I believe we're on the verge of being able to reconvene so that you can also enjoy the benefits of seeing me in person as opposed to through the camera that you're looking at me now. I think it would be wonderful for us to have such opportunities, and I hope we can do this in the very near future. I long for the day.
My follow-up, some of your colleagues have been holding news conferences in venues that can accommodate reporters. Heather Stephenson today is going to be holding a press conference in the legislative building in a more, in a place where a number of us can attend. Other ministers have done the same. Why aren't you doing that?
Oh, well, Larry, I think I'll be doing it on Thursday, and I did it actually the week before last as well. But again, I'm trying to make myself available as frequently as I can to all media, and I'm trying to make sure that I also, as opposed to some negative comments in your paper yesterday, I have also endeavored to make sure my ministers are available, as you just noted. And so we continue to make sure that the ministers of the Manitoba government are available to the media, that I'm available to the media. And as I said earlier, I look forward to the day that I'll be able to answer your questions face to face.
From Global News, Brittany.
Good morning, Mr. Premier. It's Brittany from Global News. On the press release, it says the funding for this program is going to be through unspent balances in other programs. How much money is left unspent in those programs currently, and how much money do you anticipate going towards this program?
Well, Brittany, I would have to say we're ready to make money available to invest in solutions, not to throw it at problems. This program I've announced today and the expansion of the program we announced, the 50% wage subsidy program to all ages and retroactive to June 1st, are designed to encourage people to get back to work, to be able to get their jobs and their lives back. So that's how we're going to continue to focus our investments to encourage a restart of Manitoba's economy and to give people their lives back.
Thank you. And you've made some other programs retroactive. Is that something that's going to happen here? And do you know how many Manitobans are currently taking advantage of those two federal programs?
No, we won't make the CERB incentive program retroactive because that would be impossible, because people would have been in receipt of the CERB program in the past and wouldn't be eligible for this program. What we're making retroactive, though, is the eligibility for the 50% wage subsidy program to any employer that wants to apply who has hired people back since June 1st. We think that that will be a fairer way to do it, because when we announced phase 2, as you remember, a number of companies did start to rehire then, and we want to make sure that we don't do anything but encourage them and offer them that extra cash flow that they had already invested, frankly, in wages back at the end of the summer with a 50% rebate. If they know that in advance, that should help a lot of our small businesses free up, as I say, up to $25,000 of additional cash flow.
From the Brandon Sun, Drew.
Thank you. This is Drew Mason, the Brandon Sun. Mr. Premier, if at the end of the 6-week program, when people have received the $2,000, they're still only making not enough from the regular wages to get by, will the province consider extending the program, or is it strictly a one-time thing people can apply for?
Well, our hope is, of course, that we can make this graph a V, Drew, and so that the economy recovers. But we all know that Manitoba's economy is part of a larger economy, nationally, internationally, globally. And so we'll continue to review all our programs to make sure we're designing them so that they're properly motivating and encouraging employment. We believe that making sure that Manitoba's economy restarts is our first obligation, but our first obligation in setting the stage for that to happen is to make sure that we keep Manitobans safe and secure. This COVID thing isn't going away. The WHO had its highest daily count of new cases just yesterday. The reality of COVID is that it's a danger and an ongoing danger, and so as I always do, I will encourage Manitobans to continue to do the right things on social distancing and washing, the practices that have helped us in the past, the practices we need to keep at to make sure this recovery, this restart in Manitoba lasts.
Thank you. And just to quickly follow up, Phase 3 did only come into effect 2 days ago, but are you happy so far with how people have been following the recommendations and the guidelines outlined in that phase?
Well, I'm happy, Drew, in the sense that just starting yesterday, but it's preliminary, I know that anecdotally we've had lots of reports from members of the legislature and from others we've been in contact with that they're excited, that they are looking to hire, looking to get back to work. And we think that this program we've announced today and the expansion of the previous one are combined going to assist in that happening even better. So we're very, very excited on that front. I think Manitobans are excited to get into summer, but also for those who've been forced out of work or to reduced hours and reduced income as a result. I think they'll be very excited about these two announcements today as well. Just want to say thanks to everybody for doing the right things, keeping our progress going, and happy birthday, Esther. Bye for now.
That concludes today's media briefing. Thank you.